Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to class, everybody. Before you just get started, I'd like to have your attention for just a minute. I know. Yeah, don't worry. You're gonna have most of class to work on what you want to work on. But what I am wanting to do today is it will be brief. It will be brief, but this is going to be an opportunity to receive some feedback before your final submission. So, quick reminder, your final is due Thursday at 11:20 a.m., I think. So you still have all next week to finish, and you will have the rest of class today. Next week, during finals week, including Student Success Day on Monday, I will be in N209 from about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. With the exception of a couple of meetings I have to go to. But don't worry, you'll still have access to the labs. It will be open, and as soon as I'm finished with them, I'll be coming back. I think that's Wednesday. I have a handful of them. Now, so that in mind, that means today is your last day that you're required to come to class. Today is our last day that I have an opportunity to actually give you feedback on your work, because after today, I might not see you again, and that's normal. So, that means quick review of our check-ins. You've been expected to be giving regular progress every day. If you weren't here or it's out of your timeline, that's still okay, as long as you're continuing to post progress on this work. Okay. So quick reminder, we had your references was your first post. The next should have been progress of your mesh, probably your like high poly or base mesh that we were going for. We were off for Thanksgiving. Yay. And then more progress posts. The goal is to be having your high poly done. If it's not, that's all right. That was the goal, I think, on Tuesday would be to have your high poly at least finished or some progress on that. If it's not, you're still fine. Have a and today, I would like for you to not only post progress, but to also take a look at other students' work. Now, what I'm not going to have you do is necessarily give everybody or anybody else feedback unless you'd like to, but to notice a few things that might be happening. Where I want you to see if you find any common strengths, any common mistakes, any trends that you see from a higher perspective, or folks struggling with getting through a certain stage or whatever. And then make some notes to yourself. Are you making some of those same things? Do we have a new lens on your own work? And make some notes on the same thread for yourself. Now, please remember to reply to yourself and not start a new thread. Gentle reminder. But I will be grading this discussion next week. And however many posts you have is what accumulates the points on that. So if you're behind, now's your chance to make up for it. This is probably the only assignment outside of the final itself that you can continue to contribute to after today. And that reminds me, today is the final day for late work and resubmissions. I've done my best to make sure that homework has been graded up to this point. I'll double check to see if anything else came in as of last night. But I really try to get you feedback before tonight at 10 so that you can make any changes if you have to. That's the perk to getting your work in before this deadline and not for the first time at this deadline. Okay, any questions? Okay, on that note, please do me, oh, nope, you're just fixing your hat. Okay. On that note, please share with me some recent progress on your work. I would like to see a few maybe screenshots of your wireframes. They could be in a smooth mesh preview or not. Give me a couple of angles, something that I can actually give you feedback on. And don't just do it to check a box. Please give me information that I can work with. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and I'm gonna pause that. All right, everybody. Let's go ahead. And if you need to, turn off those monitors. If you need to. I won't make you. But I also struggle when something is really yummy right in front of me. I want to eat it. And so it is for me in 3D. Okay. I just clicked refresh. So I'm going to start going down and try to give you all some feedback. This is a great opportunity to ask away if you have any questions. Do you remember that while this is an open book, open internet, open Canvas test, it's not an open instructor test, so I can't necessarily tell you how to solve all the problems that we have covered. But every now and then, a problem we have not covered comes up, and then I can actually record a demonstration on how to approach it. So by all means, please ask away. First up, nav. Yeah, this is terrifying, but I love that you chose it because it's one of the coolest things that I've seen in terms of illustration and like concept work. And what I also really liked about your references is that this illustrator took great care to kind of also give you material references of what they're going for, so you can kind of articulate what that would look like in realism, where you go that far. So I love it, and let's see what we've got so far. Yep, yep, yep. And yeah, there's the good stuff. 3. I love that smooth mesh preview. Excellent. Okay, so you do. Ah, yes, you did the next steps. This is looking really nice. Really, really nice. Okay. Okay. All right. I don't think I have a lot to say in terms of a corrective path. You're really strong. You're going really strong. What I might recommend as you move forward is when you do your bake, group them into at least 2, maybe 3 groups that don't touch each other so that you can individually bake them that way, as opposed to every single piece. You could do every single piece, but that's a lot of like object management in your hierarchy. But this looks excellent. Are you going to be bringing this into ZBrush for any reason? Or are you going to, oh yeah, okay. Then what I'm going to also, I'm going to just kind of, not to cut you off at the pass here, you have high density and low density, meaning if they are all one, will probably be sub tools. You will need to subdivide some more than others to get access. Whereas like some of these, like this ring, maybe 1 time and you can get to chiseling. This one, 3 to 4. So be careful if you do wind up grouping them before you submit them into or import them into ZBrush, that you don't have high density with low density at the same time, because as you, these tiny little things get insane where you can barely get the large piece working. Does that make sense? All right, so I don't actually see a problem moving forward. I see potential struggles if you weren't aware already, but otherwise this is looking really solid. Nice job. That's pretty cool. I'm excited to see where it goes. Teddy, you here, bud? No, but I'm gonna get your feedback anyway. No, I'm not, because we don't have any posting in progress yet. Okay, well that's okay. When you do get it, I can get you feedback then, and I still have until this week. Right. Okay, cool. Make sure I'm still recording. Finn, let's see. Hey, nice job. Nice job. This is your kind of base mesh, right? You're moving forward on. Okay. And is this up to date with what you currently have working? All right. Okay. You're getting a little bit of pulling on some of this. A couple of edge loops around that will balance it out. Like see how you have like no edge loops coming around here? Just adding 1 or 2 will go a long way towards helping some of that pulling. When I mean pulling, I mean like this like shading right here that gets a little, it looks stressed. Like if it could make a noise, it would be ow, right there. That's what I mean. Like edge loops around them, kind of wrapping around it will help balance that out. Okay, nice job. Patty. Let's take a look, bud. Good start. Good start. I have a hard time seeing. If you notice maybe where I maybe don't post tiny references, it's hard to see. And this I doubt that this was intentional. I bet like what's happening is let me actually turn on the camera if I can emulate this. What might be happening, okay, is that we're doing this, the camera is your screen. You're doing this, you're like, you know, and then you kind of screenshot a little bit, and that's what I get. I see that sometimes. Move your shoulders back. Try your best to zoom out. And I call that God mode. Like when you're like really in it, you need to pull back and like look at the whole thing. Like you're in control of the cosmos. Like you're moving all this big stuff. Like you're a big guy, and then that's a tiny little thing. Zoom out a little bit. but I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing, so I'm gonna see if I can maybe down. Oh, there we go. So that's actually much nicer. How come? Maybe Canvas did that, and I'm all wrong. Okay, I recommend not relying on multiple primitives on a single mesh to try to get the larger form for the most part. Now, this can still work in your favor in ZBrush if you do a proper Dynamesh, but you lose a lot of control that way. You do. So there are trade-offs. Can it still work? Yes. It doesn't always work to your favor though. So what you have learned in this class that I think you can go back and revisit here is the pillow work of how the smooth mesh preview really does kind of squishify this. And you can have a lot more control over more intricate shape with a lot less geometry without having to think about like, well, this is like a circle over here and this is like another circle over here. And then I'll just overlay them and it becomes an object. That's not really healthy topology, not for real-time rendering. It's not too bad for printing, but we're not printing, we're real-time rendering. So what I might recommend in a situation like this is to start with, this is going to seem really unintuitive, but to start with a cube, because that's not a cube. You're thinking cylinder, it's round over here. But do you remember what happens when you hit 3 on a cube? It becomes a ball, totally. So let's use that to our advantage a little bit. And little demo. I really should have powered on Maya sooner. I'm sorry, everybody. Okay. Anybody else get uncomfortable in silences? Just me? Me? Yeah. I grew up in a home where silence was unsafe. Silence means someone's real mad. Yeah. Yeah. That's part of why I play it, I think. It's I find it calming. It's people have different definitions of calming though. Yeah. All right. So when I hit 3, notice how that goes to a sphere. So what we can do, and I mean let's get fancy with it. Turn on symmetry. Object X, I think. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I know. Don't panic. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, that's like most of it, right? That's like, I know that feels really weird, right? Like, I have to actually move these edges over a little bit because I made it a little too far. Oh no, I went too far. Went too far. It's kind of like, yeah, right about there. And then we went in, like, don't give it too extreme of a value if you need it tighter, like give it another value, right? More numbers to do the math on. Okay, I guess I have to do it connect-wise. Yeah. There you go. And now you've got that shape. So like the smooth mesh preview will do so much for you. So much. Common errors I have found in the past, we might see a couple while we're out here, is trying to get like a nice swirly curve feeling really good. And here's the mistake that a lot of people learning will make. I don't want to say necessarily just students, but people learning. And that's that like, well, I want this to make like a curve and a swirl. Let's go. Okay. This has the weeble wobble. The weeble wobble that happens with freehanding a lot because we're imperfect beings. We don't make nice, smooth, beautiful curves. So what winds up happening is like in your attempt to make a lot of smooth, a lot of really cool stuff work for you, you give it more than it frankly needs. Um, Half the time, you'll get a way better result with so much less, so much less. You get like the average distance between 2 points become a lot less aggressive when you don't have too much of them to work with. Have more where you want tightness and less where you want smoothness. And I mean, this kind of just takes practice a little bit. You'll get there. But this should be more the approach, not two cylinders mashed together to try to get most of the way there. That's going to break for you in a lot of ways when you try to do your retopo and bake too, because if they're not absolutely perfect, you'll have weird shading lines from your high poly being baked onto. It's not unlike the buttons that we did in the controller. Okay. All right, Patty, I hope that helps. Haley, I know you can make it today, but I'm hoping that you do see this. So I'm gonna review yours as well. Strong start. You're doing what I was showing just now. Nice job. Nice job. Hey, fire. I love to see it. Guys, we've got a really solid start here. We've got the start of the low poly and a really beautifully converted high. That looks really great. I can even see where a lot of stuff's gonna bake. Now, I think you had a unique challenge because I gave you, I think I did. There we go. 5K if you add the buttons as geometry, 2K if you don't. And so that's basically going to be a personal call. If you want to have low poly buttons as well, I wanted to give you a little more wiggle room, but you could probably get this looking pretty solid without even modeling low poly buttons. You can just bake those buttons right onto the low poly. Why would you do one versus the other? Well, if this was going into a game where you saw it just sitting on the table and the player just like saw it, and maybe if you picked it up, it disappeared. No, I would not do the buttons. It's unnecessary geometry. If in the game, though, that your player picks it up and then there's a clue on it that you have to turn it around. Have you, like a lot of games, you're like, oh, I have to open it to see if I could get the code off of the blah, blah, blah. Then yeah, put the buttons in. Because if your player or viewer has to turn it around and can see the like silhouette from multiple perspectives, then yeah, you should probably do it. That would be the determining factor of whether or not I have more or less geometry. And we would call that a hero piece or a hero prop. Okay, nice. Gabriel. Yeah, nah, it's gonna be cool. Extra credit if you do the cat. Um, yeah, I love it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yay. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for giving me more, but in future, try not to do that because the advice helps for everybody. But I appreciate it. Are these all up to, is this your current progress? Okay, great. Okay, let me see. Wonderful. Now, the low poly is very low because it is a pretty simple form, but the high poly can be bananas. So you may go to town on that. And these are looking pretty tight. Does it smooth mesh preview well? When you hit 3, does it smooth well? Yeah, yeah, you should. Because like this form on the reference has really nice bevels, real nice curves. That smooth mesh preview is going to be your friend. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's my only quote unquote concern, right? I can't say for sure that it smooths well, but I'm going to say parts of it will and parts of it won't yet. And so you're going to want to make some bevels in places that need to be sharpened, specifically the tip and the blade, and then the top 2 sides of the blade. So like I would bevel this edge, and that edge as a loop. Yep. Points act a little funny as well in Smooth Mesh Preview, but you have enough here that it might be fine. So that's going to be my advice. Make sure you're checking that hit 3 in between working a lot more. Yeah. That's not as threatening as the reference. We want it to be badass, not something my Nana would use on Thanksgiving. Well, my Nana would use that actually, but mine's a weirdo. Okay. All right, next up, get in. That's okay, bud. I know you're working on it. So when you're ready, I'll give you some more feedback. By the way, for reference, this is closer to the amount of I think detail work I want to see in a character. That's why I like practically no to characters unless I've actually seen reason that you can be up to the challenge of it, or it's a simple enough one, and this is a simple enough one, and I think it'd be a really cute 3D model. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I know you can do it. I've seen your work. You got this. Okay, Lilica. And it doesn't look like we have progress yet. You just have my reference. Okay. All right. Stephanie, I know you can make it today, but maybe you're going to watch this. So let's take a look. Nice. Nice. Real nice. Okay. Yeah, I think similarly to your challenge is that we're going to have a lot of moving parts, a lot of assets. And I'm going to give the same advice that I gave Nav up here with this piece right here, specifically around like managing a lot of pieces, right? And maybe what I could do is I could talk a little bit more about what I mean by that. When you have a lot of parts, let's just say I've got multiple parts here and they're all like complicated and that looks weird. I don't know. We're just messing around, okay? We've got lots of pieces. And yes, you could technically have, in my case, 7 high polys and 7 low polys named the same. That sounds terrible. But if we're really careful and instead maybe just select objects that aren't touching each other, that could be one. And then this guy, nope. This guy, this guy, this guy could be one. And this guy has to be one and that guy has to be one because they're touching each other. You could have 4 instead of 8 or 3 instead of 25, just depending on what you do. I think when I did the guitar, so you might be doing one, I had all of the knobs and dials as one asset. Yep, and the neck and the body as 2 separate ones, right? So like that, while things can have lots of parts, you don't have to have lots of objects. All right, that's going to be my main piece of advice, like, because this is also a really strong start. Oh, proud of you, bud. Keep going. All right, Dan. This is a fun. I'm a big fan of Gibson myself. They're my preferred brand. But nice, nice. Okay, nice. Let me see if I could get a good reference on that neck. Oh, it is like one whole piece, isn't it? It it might have been sealed with glue. So the clue is the wood grain doesn't perfectly match there. So you could feasibly have them 2 separate pieces, just very tight there. But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I would have recommended maybe doing that instead of what you've done, only because I think it'd have been easier. But you did it, and you did it pretty well. Yeah. Oh, yes. Fire. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, you did it well. So I won't really tell you to change it. I would have like try not to. Oh, you did. Oh, you did. Okay. You did it well. Great. This is sick. I love this. Okay. Where I think you might be hurting a little bit is the matching of the pick guard and the slight like aggression on this like smooth articulation on the body. But I mean, okay, congratulations, you got the Neho nitpick. Nailed it. Because on the body itself, can you tell that I know this guitar pretty well? It it has more of a hardened edge right here than the like Les Paul wave, than the Les Paul smooth, right? Um, I'm I might recommend getting an edge loop to follow approximately this form and then beveling it and leaving and removing anything in between so it's a sharper cut between them without there being a wave. Let me see if I can get back to what you posted and maybe, nope, over, why does that keep coming up? Let me see your edge flow. Let me see your edge flow. What's the edge flow? I see. Okay. A couple ways to go about this. We never really talked about this, but let's say we've got something. I'm trying to get something up here that will at least resemble some of the problems that you are dealing with. Okay. All right. So you got kind of something like this. And when you smooth mesh preview it out, it bevels nicely, right? So what you can do is you can kind of make a new edge flow, like a new edge loop, by selecting where you would like it to go around and then apply a bevel there, right? That's not like, I know maybe exactly what you want to do, but sure. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you guys a trick that you're going to love. Shift greater than will grow, shift less than will shrink. So you can get kind of, right? And then this guy, then maybe, how am I doing this? What am I doing? I don't know. I'm solving it as I go, is what I'm doing. Yeah. But not this. And not that. Okay. Oh, okay. You to you. Okay. All right. And then we bevel just those. Two. You get that harder edge transition between them as opposed to the like, ooh, la, 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 la. So what I used to do when I was learning is that I would take something kind of similar to this and I would select maybe the parts of these faces that, I don't know, that grow would have helped me here, but I wasn't listening to myself. I would like extrude in and then push out, and then I'd get something similar. But like when you realize how much faster you can get there by controlling the edge flow first, you get tighter results. So we never really talked about this kind of level of hard surface modeling, but I'm glad that you tackled it. Wow, that looks so much tighter than that. Oh, baby Renee was trying. Um, beautiful work. Beautiful work. I would say just that one piece because I think that's going to be the difference between this looking fire professional and yeah, I could see that you're still kind of figuring it out, but this could be a hero piece for your portfolio. Did it hold up? Nice job. Nat. Nat. All right. Let's look at your little toad boy, little toady boy. Love it. Thank you. You did the work, did the leg work, looking at some frog anatomy. Great. And I think it can be. Usually it's a lot stronger if you start in kind of like a rooted foundation in how like animal form functions. And then you're making a stylistic choice about what you choose to be abstract versus literal, right? Right. So, but in the moment though, when you're only working off of the abstract, you don't really get to develop the mental vocabulary about what it is you're choosing to have style and what you aren't. So this is a really great practice. I love to see it. However, the progress you have here, which I believe is a valiant effort, does kind of undermine the work of this part, right? So what I'd like to see you do is maybe take a reference of the frog in a facing, maybe in a top down. This is a good top down view, a side view, and a more relaxed kind of pose. But well, maybe it doesn't have to be a relaxed pose. You can have him posed in a more symmetrical way, because the problem with your illustration, while it is very cute, and I would say even compositionally very pleasing, it is at an angle. And it looks almost rotoscoped of a almost kind of 3/4 view of a frog without any kind of volume consideration like shading or highlighting on anything here. So you can't tell where volume is more or less. This isn't a good reference, though it's a great style reference. Okay.
I chose a specific code. I actually found the one I worked from originally.
Okay.
The one that I chose to be like the model for the toads I make.
Okay.
And I've been drawing that out realistically and then adding the details of mistletoe to it.
Great, that's great.
Journal.
Think back to the video game controller where we had a top, a side, a front. That's really what will help you the most in this case. And especially because like a frog is surprisingly a complex form. I mean, yes, it's really cute, and sometimes you can get them real ball-like. But still, the more you can have resolved for yourself, the better. Okay. All right. And same advice as earlier, trying not to like use lots of primitives unless you plan to smooth mesh, not smooth mesh preview, but dynamesh it and ZBrush later but that's getting to be a little complicated with the mesh that tight. When you have, let's say like the arm in on itself, that will all become one mesh as well. So you lose a lot of that. Whereas if you extruded it off of a smooth mesh preview subdivision, you'll have way more control. So I'm going to recommend that route for you. Nice job. Next up, Daniela. And hasn't been feeling well, I recall. So when you are ready to post, I can get you some feedback. This is also about as much detail as I'd like to see on a character for a project like this. Juan, you here? Not here right now, but let's see what you got. This is a really cool reference. I love to look at it. One is super excited to work on it, while parts of me want to say, oh, go easy on yourself. You really, really wanted to do it. So, okay, we'll do it. You can do it. I like where this is going in terms of the detail. You're making a lot of choices to have additional pieces here, which I can't quite tell if they smooth mesh preview well. So I'm going to give you similar advice I gave Gabriel before about the sword, is to make sure you're toggling 3 and that it is articulating like the way you want it to in a smooth mesh subdivision. I'm a little worried about, I think it'll be okay. Like this looks okay, but it's still open. And maybe this is a space where some of this detail, ZBrush will be your friend in the sculpture part. But I do like that you're taking into account of having these additional like filigree style details on the mesh. Get that high poly super strong, and then the rest will fall into place. That's usually my advice, but it's a little early to say here. Keep it up. You're making good progress on it. Adriana, we have updates? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, nice. That's pretty good. Oop. So we jumped right from base mesh to material. Do you have high poly, low poly topology, anything like that? Or okay. That'll be more helpful for your portfolio post. So this is a big jump. Yeah, because like it's just sort of like a piece of the handle, and then also now you're materializing it. So I would actually say that that's the part I'm most interested in with you, because that's been like historically where you've had more of your bugs occurring in that space. Um, the bake is looking okay. You're getting some artifacts right here, and here. So I would start with wanting to see the relationship between the high poly and the low poly. How close are they? Um, how detailed is that high poly versus the low poly, and like the silhouette, large detail versus the small. Um, and maybe your UV work. I'd like to see that too. This is looking a little rough for what I think you could do. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, some of those issues are showing up in your material. This is why early feedback is so important. Because while I do really like how much progress you made and how excited you are to get to the material, but I believe that some of those problems that happened here, they continued to kind of hurt the mesh a bit. And so if you were to go back and fix them, you have to redo all that work. So I get it. I get the desire to like want to rush to the finish line, but get some eyes on it during your process, especially while you're learning, so that you don't wind up having to redo a whole several steps to make this strong. And I'll tell you, as somebody who's made that mistake before, I will usually abandon a piece before I'll do that again. Before I will just be like, that's it, F it, done, good enough. And no lie, for about 2 years there, I had a bunch of assets like that in my portfolio that I was like, yeah, but like I wasn't gonna redo it, so there it is. And it showed, it shows. So your habits start to tell a story about the kind of artist you are. So if I can do anything to keep you from making the same mistake I made, I would like to try to help. But outside of that though, I like some of the painting material work you did. That's pretty cool. Okay. Mingy, I don't think you're here, but let's see what progress we have. Okay, and so we should have some. What happened? Oh, nope, just more references and not 3Ds. This is taking forever to load. Okay. I'm okay, I got it. You really like this character. Um, I don't yet see any progress, just more reference work. Okay, well, I'd say these are good lighting references for some of them and style. All right, what you could probably benefit is a mood board. Get a mood board together, put all of them into one space. We can kind of zoom out a little bit and not get too into the weeds. And what you could also begin doing is organizing them into groups. Like, I like this for these colors. I like this for the texture paint style. I like this for the painting. I like this for the story and background. And you can even reuse the same image for 2 reasons. Whatever helps you keep it organized, because I think sometimes we get into the weeds where we're like, oh, I like that, and I like that, and I like that. Part of our job is articulating what it is that we like about it and what is strong and what you plan to use from it. It's like ethical stealing when you can do that. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to seeing some 3D progress that I can give you advice on. All the while, I see you got a lot of personality in wanting to do this, so I'm excited to see where it goes. Dolly, see, homie, how are we doing on the succulent? Nice, nice. Hey, very nice. Very good, very good. Now it's really just kind of about the bake control stuff, right? Yeah, yeah. Yep, you can. I'm gonna recommend that you follow exactly one of these references and not just go with vibes. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. These like golden ratio patterns in like nature are so cool. And I had a professor, God, he loved to hear himself talk. I realized what that sounds like after having just spoke this whole time. But he would say things and he'd say them like they're laws and rules. He's like, you don't want to see repeated patterns in nature like that. Your human eye catches it really easily, and that's not how nature works. There aren't repeated patterns. And I'm like, okay, I know repeated patterns. And I wrote it down. And then I moved out here and I was like, man, is that guy wrong about everything? Like the way the repeated patterns happened everywhere. And some of my healing was just telling him how wrong he was in my own mind for like years after that. But he just go with it exactly when you see it. I think that's part of the reason that succulents like this are so beloved by us is that they look so orderly and pretty in this very specific way. It makes them special. So just copy it. Mother Nature don't mind if you copy her. She takes it as a compliment. All right. Gabe. All right. I've been kind of excited about yours because I think you're taking something that would ordinarily be really simple and you're making it really fun. Like you're going into like deeper spaces of other features, like in the tech for it. So I want to see what you figured out. Nice. Nice. That will bake nicely. Yeah. Come on, Canvas, help me out. Okay, that will that will actually deform nicely if you're going where I think you're going about it. You gonna rig it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. Okay. 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 Um, I think that you may want to, at least with your final pose, which you could technically do after the bacon material and everything, give Clippy a little more dimension from the side plane. Is when you turn it around, and if he doesn't have also deformation on that one, it's going to feel flat. You'll turn it around, and I don't think he was intended to feel flat. Is to notice that we have a lot more shadow here and a highlight here. So it's almost like this part would pop off, and this would be a little pushed back. This would curve in while he kind of curves out. So it's almost like he's curving this way with like an S curve. That makes sense. S curves give things life. And this is a paper clip with eyeballs. I think that was the goal. So you could actually do that later though, once you finish the material and stuff. Then you could re-import the mesh after you do that into Painter, and likely it will update, but it could make boo-boos for you later. As long as you don't add more geometry, you're probably fine. But maybe do a test just to see. But like that's maybe my one real critique of that. But I'm really excited to see you taking advantage of like the joints feature. And are you gonna also paint weights or? Okay, well if you get there and you need help, I could show you. But nice, nice. Looks very good. Looks very good. And Kobe, I know you're working on it, bud. So I'll give you feedback when you are ready. Okay. Next up. Jacob. Yeah. These are really good illustrations too. These are really good. Um, man, picked a solid one. Good, good, good. Looking pretty good. Now, is this smooth meshed previewed or is this the low poly shaded here? Yeah, okay. The pulling that's happening on here will go away in a bake, but your high poly needs to be really solid about that. You are in a position where you could probably take this and make it a high poly, but when you do, it will probably dramatically change the silhouette on this, especially here. So just like make sure all those bevels are super tight. I get that this one's tricky. That's just a tricky one. Let me see if I can get back and get a better idea for the reference. It's right. Man, you got an icon right over where we need to see. Because this also looks like forged iron, maybe, in which case it would be one piece, welded or melted together. You could take what you have blocked out and use a Dynamesh or Z remesher to make it weld together, and that will work for you in a high poly, but you'll have to redo that retopology anyway. So I don't like to say it is wrong to do the low poly first and then the high poly. That's not necessarily true, but there will be parts of this you'll have to redo the low poly for eventually if you want it to come out really strong. Um, keep going. Let me keep going. Yeah, yeah. So the low poly is typically informed by the high. Doesn't mean that you can't do one over the other. Just be mindful of that. You might have to redo some of this topology later. So it's okay if it's a little out of order. Nice job, though. That's looking pretty good. I didn't even like remark at how your silhouette looks really tight. All of these details are looking really cool. I think it's going to bake really nicely when you do get that together. Because this material is going to be super fun. You can just like color pick and paint. Ah, I'm so excited for you. Love this for you. Nice job. Olivia. I love it. If my hair could be all of these colors, this is what I would pick for myself. I think you're going with the pierogi floating island with the cherries and the, I'm not sure sauce, but that looks awesome. Let's take a look at some of your geometry. Nice. What I love about this is that it's kind of hitting without even doing any material work yet. Um, I'm being nitpicky in this case because this really has more to do with how you interpret it. It's looking a little cubey, and in my mind, floating island's more round, but that is totally subjective. There's no way for me to actually have any definitive answer that that's how that goes. I think from very specific angles, this looks really solid. Um, and then it starts to look a little bit more square-like, but maybe that's not a bad thing, just something I noticed. The, but my first impression of this was really excited. You're having a little bit of pulling on the shading of the pierogies there. I mean, reducing geometry will help with that smooth mesh, but whatever. It's looking pretty good. Oh, looks nice. Woo! Nice. Okay. Same advice as before. Grouping stuff that aren't touching each other into maybe 2 or 3 groups, 3 here probably, will make the bake look super strong. I'm excited for you. Nice job. Um, Probably fine, but what I would do, let's say you wanted to be a perfectionist about it. This is a pierogi, okay? In my metaphor. In my metaphor, this is a pierogi. Um, this is a pierogi. These are pierogis. Um, okay, right. We got a cluster of pierogis. What I would start to do is I would like group, group. This one, group. You know, I would start to just see how they group together. And I mean in this case, if this one and this one are touching, it's probably okay because where they're touching you can't see in my very specific use case. So that's how I approach the problem. How you solve it, I think if they're touching in a way that you can't see, fine. Like if it's hidden from the viewer, that's totally fine. Um, if you decide to bake them all together as one, okay. It will have that weird artifact of them on top of each other. But maybe it won't be so bad. Sometimes it's fine. You if I've just found that usually you see like bugs that, and I get bothered by them when I see them. So, but it won't hurt your grade or anything. Okay. All right. Nice. Very cool. Okay. Which you're doing this one. Aroni? Oh, that's right. You had to go. You might come back, and it's okay if you can't. But maybe you'll watch this. All right, let's keep going. Progress here. Uh, the Labubu is doing what I recommend, even though you're doing this bunny, which I can't remember what this is from.
It's Jack, Jack, right?
I don't know what that is. I'm old. I don't know what that is. Okay, but the bunny, yeah, this is what I don't recommend. Using primitives to get you most of the way there. A cube is going to get you so much further in the ways that I was showing before. So, look at already, this is way more geometry than I'd ever want to F with at this stage. Like a sphere, these cylinders all the way around, like think, wait, um, cube, three, um, let's make it bigger. And okay, that's the body, right? All right, shrink for the head, up a little bit, up again, maybe up again, and look at that, head and body, right? Arm, arm. So like thinking more of just getting the basic form out is this is already so much nicer. Look at all the geometry I made, all not that much of it. You could do so much with so little. Don't get in your head about having a ton of edge loops like this at this stage. Maybe if you were doing Bubbles or Buttercup preferred or Blossom from the I'm losing words, Powerpuff Girls. Yeah. If you're gonna do the Powerpuff Girls, I might start with a sphere, but even then, I feel like I'd still start with a cube and extrude out from there. It just kind of depends on the style choices. Um, I see that you did bring a cube into the mix, probably after talking about it, but hopefully what I shared with you will kind of help you rethink some of this. Um, you might be able to get away with keeping the smile for the bake, you know, the eyes and the smile and the expression, or even merging some of these, welding them together and bridging them in single pieces. I think that could work. All right. Devin, well, you're not here today, but that's okay. Hopefully you'll still see this. Um, your initial goal was to do a material, yeah, material versions of this. So I'm not too concerned with your geometry. I've seen it so far. This is looking really solid. Um, nice. Great takedown. Look at that. You did a lot of work for yourself that I think is paying off. Um, All right, I'm going to be most interested to see how you solve some of the bake materials. I know that you weren't worrying too much of what's going on underneath. Now, that's because the actual prop, when worn as a costume piece, had foam inside. You don't see the foam, so it doesn't really feel like it's part of the asset. Well, it would be if you have any renders showing inside of the helmet. Um, just don't render that part. You're probably fine. Um, but also that doesn't look bad. We could probably mentally fill in the gaps. We don't know what we don't know. So I think you're fine there. I remember double checking with you guys, when you see black like this, make sure that it's not because your normals are flipped. I happen to know because of the context that he applied a black material to it. So this is not actually an error. But if you did not apply a black material to your faces and it's black, that's the boo-boo. You're gonna want to make sure that your normals aren't facing out like that or inside out. This is really solid. This is really solid work. I might recommend adding an edge loop around the corner here, right here, rather than it being very pointy. It's almost sharp, but then again, it is kind of sharp in the reference. So you know what? I think I'm just wrong, and what you did was right. That guy right here, though, has a highlight around it, making it feel thicker. So, you know, whatever you prefer is the best answer there. Nice job. I'm looking forward to seeing how you solve the material work, because that was going to be your study, I think, having very material variants for it. Oh, thanks for posting. What was next? Nice job. Um, this is looking pretty tight. We got some weird pulling right here, but maybe that's actually bake or not bake, material painting. Hmm. 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 No, I like yours better. I was gonna say, oh, we should follow the reference, but I actually like yours better. The reference is clean. It's giving, what's that called? NASA punk? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I like your weather worn more, even though it doesn't match the reference technically. I do think though you would benefit from at least a piece of maybe the face guard being higher gloss or more contrast in the roughness. When something's really, really glossy next to something that isn't, it just kind of pulls the eye a little bit better. Contrast shows up in all manner of ways, and that's one of my favorite ways that it does in 3D. So I think that would be really tight, is if you have just a little bit more gloss in anything that's glass, and it'll help pop. Nice work. Nice work. And if you do more colors, I'm excited to see. Xana, it doesn't look like we have progress yet, but when you're ready, I will happily give you some feedback. Nora, hello. Nice material references. Let's see what we have here. Going back up. Oh, the axe. This is what we're building. Okay. It's all right. It's probably canvas, just doing stuff. I think that happened to, Patty too, and I wrecked her for it. I'm sorry. Um, which axe did you choose to do? Oh, okay. Hey, all right. I want to commend you for getting into the smooth mesh preview right away because it helps us like figure out where things need to get tighter and where things are getting smoother. I see the struggle bus around the blade. So, okay. I think I can help with this a little bit. Um, Similarly to how I recommend going about this with other things, starting with the cube is fine. Um, I tend to try to get the silhouette out right away. Like the silhouette is king. And let's say that we have this object. I'll kind of do it at a rotation here. Um, Slide. Okay. I'm not sure if the axe kind of goes in or out. Like it just kind of depends on whatever the shape of the axe is. But you see like what I'm doing is that I'm getting that silhouette of the axe cut first. I think in a lot of cases, axes kind of fan out a little bit. I'm not following a reference. Yours is really tight on the corner. So maybe that's what we do is we bring this really tight on the corner. And then we have something that goes in a little bit. Okay. You know what? I even think I've got this all wrong. This needs to come up here. Get that silhouette as close as you can, as fast as you can. Then what you can do is start worrying about getting those tight edges working. So what's really tricky about this is that you want this to be tight and you get an instinct to go, wanna not? No, don't do that. Not yet. I agree. Me too, kinda. Not yet though. Okay? And then what we can do, add an edge loop right now, huh? And just like I was showing Dan before, we can choose where we want our hard edges to be beveled a little bit more interestingly. But for lack of a better word, as I said before, I'm totally losing my words these days. Maybe this guy too. All right, so let's try bevel here. Nope. Everywhere I want there to be a hard edge. Bevel. Cool. Now, don't panic. And admire your work. Hit 3 and admire. See, like getting it to fit that silhouette first and then harden the edges. When you harden the edge first and then there's problem in the silhouette, you start to compensate like you did here, which is, I think, reasonable. Why wouldn't you be like, I'll just like shove it up there. I'll just punch up those verts to see if I get it to fit. It gets harder to control because you're also moving verts that are like on top of itself. And then there's pulling and stuff. But like I would actually take this piece right there. I wanted to click on it. This piece right here and just whoop, fan it out and then add the detail of the reference strappy strap after. Strappy strap that I'm talking about is this guy right there. You got this. Okay. Man, I want to model an axe now. Okay, that's cool. And oops, not that one. Yeah, Lucas, let's see your scope. Is that your scope right there? I'm kidding. Yeah, yeah. You know what? What I really like about yours is that it's mostly just embellished cylinders, but you get to think of solving these problems in deep. You get to zoom in. You get to get microscopic with it. You're like atomic getting in there. Just zoom in. Um, which is fun to do on the high poly. Nice, nice. You're learning so much on this one, I can tell. And you're also building at the low poly. Good, good, good. Hey, nice job. Nice job. Okay, I think like my one quote unquote complaint I have with your work, Jesus, that's a terrible thing to say. And I say complaint very loosely, is it's not really a complaint. It's this guy's really smooth right here. It's feeling a little marshmallowy. Um, Getting around there, maybe I'd have to take a closer look about why it's pillowy, but the rules apply as I've talked about them, like choosing the what to bevel, adding edge loops will tighten those edges up for you. And just remember that a high poly can be stupid in terms of poly count. Go to town. The bake is what's most important, and that smooth kind of marshmallow detail will bake like that on the low poly. And I think what's going to sell it is how crispy it'll be if you get that tighter. Um, that's like it though. That's like all I really have in terms of complaint, quote unquote. Nice job. You got the Neho nitpick. You did it. You got it. That was a nitpick. It really was. Shit. I am so proud of you guys. Can I ask you a question really quick before I stop recording? Just really quick, your advice or your opinion on something. If I were gonna make you model a barrel right now, how long do you think it would take you? 10 minutes. 15 minutes. You remember when you first got that barrel? It took you 2 weeks. And you do it 10 minutes now. 10 minutes with confidence. Maybe with a material, an hour, maybe. I guess 2 if I was going to do a high poly. Listen to you. Shit, I'm proud of you. Like I'm so proud of you. Like I can't tell you how freaking excited it makes me because I used to really care about like I want my art to be better. Watching you guys get fast and good is that's my new art. I love this and you guys are killing it. I'm really proud of you. I'm not just saying it because if I didn't feel that way, I would just say like, great job, guys. Oh, okay, the rest of the lab for you guys. That's not what I said though. And I happen to believe that people don't hear it enough when they deserve. So I'm really proud of you. You guys should be proud of yourselves. I know that for some of you, this was like a really stressful class, but you've grown so much in the little time that I've had with you. So I just want you to know that like that makes me feel good about what I do. So thank you for letting me have that. You guys nailed it this quarter. All right, the rest of class is yours. I will take attendance. And once I do that, you may use your time as you choose, okay? And let me know if you have any questions. Oh, and if I don't see you next week, have a wonderful break. Wonderful holiday break.